Ready, Bashar? The more you read, the more that you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you will go. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, Dr. Seuss was right. I am a reader. My father, who you see passing around, instilled in me the love of reading, and it is for him that I dedicate this speech. It would have been his birthday in 2 days, and Christmas upon us reminds me of the tradition that he instilled in me and my family, and that he had carried forward himself. From an early age, he instilled in us the love of reading, and reading has brought me a great deal. First of all, I'm fortunate in that I can read. I'm not dyslexic. I don't have reading issues, and I love it. I love reading. Every Christmas time, we looked forward to the Christmas gift that our Father would give us, which would be a book of some form. And when I was very little, I remember classics. Oops. Like Dr. Seuss. Taught me about the environment, friendship, and yes, I do like green eggs and ham. From there, I learned about the wild things, the adventures of the wild things. I spent lots of time in my room reading and learning about all of these amazing places and wonderful adventures. And as I was a younger brother of 2, and my father was a teacher, and we loved to read, by the time I got to kindergarten, I may have become a bit of a wild thing myself. I remember the first day of kindergarten when my teacher, Miss Ong, went up on the chalkboard and wrote down very diligently, "Hello, my name is Miss Ong." And at 5 years old, thanks to reading and 2 older brothers, I knew how to read that. And so I got up out of my desk and I went up and I wrote down, "Hello, my name is Tony Healy." This being 1974, and 5-year-olds are not supposed to do that, I was admonished, sent to the office, and punished for challenging her authority in the class. That said, I went undaunted, and I continued to read, and I loved reading. And I remember when I was young, the very first books that were chapter books that made me feel like a big boy was when we were reading, or was when I received for Christmas time, a group of books by a guy named Jim Tiercart. Big Red, Outlaw Red, Stormy, and there was another one, I can't remember, Irish Red. And they were stories of dogs that were separated from their owners and who found their way back through a series of adventures. And it taught me about friendship and loyalty and determination and never giving up. It also taught a lot about love. And I always loved reading these stories. It spawned in me the dream of adventure and the value of friendship. When I became an adolescent, I decided to go with things that were a little bit more entertaining and perhaps frightening. So I read a lot of Stephen King. Loved Stephen King. But every Christmas time, my father would give us something that was special. And from there, special stories I learned were stories of adventure. Stories of exotic places and exotic events. And who gave me those stories? Ernest Hemingway. And in stories like For Whom the Bell Tolls and The Sun Also Rises, I dreamt of living the life of an expatriate, swimming in the Mediterranean or the Atlantic, drinking absinthe, walking down European pathways, eating exotic foods, drinking coffee, eating tapas. 4 years into my professional rugby career, it finally dawned on me, hey, I'm living the life of an expatriate. How did that happen? I believe that my mind and my spirit was open to the whole idea thanks to my father introducing me to Ernest Hemingway, teaching me that life through a book is wonderful. Life through living is better. But where did I first learn it? I first learned that lesson through reading. While I was playing overseas, I read so much that at one point a teammate of mine complained and told me that you read too much. I read everything. I read The Little Prince. And it helped to teach me the language as well, especially the Christmas time that my wife decided to challenge me with Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace.
Yeah.
It took me a year, but I read it. And it helped to teach me French. For those of us who are not English first speakers, I highly suggest that we read as much as we can, whether it be a magazine or a news clipping or a children's book. I spent a lot of time reading crazy spy novels that were the same one over and over and over again, same story essentially, but it just helped to teach me the language. And it taught me that I could learn anything. That reading really does open up a pathway. I learned, or I believe I learned, that if you read 20 minutes a day, every day, that by the end of your year, you will have read 20 books. Can you imagine 20 books? Now imagine if you take any one of those books and you make it something to expand your mind, to teach you something. Right? What could you learn? What could you become? Well, there's a word for that. The word is an autodidact. Somebody who is self-taught. Where did I learn that word? I read it. Today, with the internet and technology, we can learn anything. I have a Kindle. In my Kindle, I have 20, 30 books that range from all sorts of things. But better yet, in my phone, in case I forget my Kindle, I also have another app that allows me to have more books. I read all the time. I'm a voracious reader, especially when I learned that if you read 1 hour a day in any given topic, by the end of the year, you will be an expert in that field. 1 hour a day is all it takes for you to become an autodidact. And if you read enough, today I'm reading Flow by a guy named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, which analyzes our flow state, the state that we get into when we are working effortlessly on something that really touches us. And hours can seem to go by in minutes, and minutes can seem to take hours. I'm also reading Don Quixote by Cervantes. They say that the classic literature is highly praised but never read. I believe it was Mark Twain who read that. I made it a point to read the classics, like War and Peace, and now Don Quixote. I'm also reading performance coaching. And if you would believe it, I've also, in those 2 electronic devices, have books on public speaking. It can teach you everything. It can take you where you want to go. And if you're lucky enough, somebody might one day call you a polymath. Now, polymath is a person whose expertise spans a significant number of topics and from which they can draw upon to solve specific problems. Now, that's a good word. I would invite you all to start your own adventure if you haven't already, by reading as much as you can. And if you have children, instill in them the love of reading. I thank my father, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you my love of reading. Toastmasters.